how hard did you push it till I black out? Yes. Numerous times, yes.
What's happening, MuniciPals? This is your boy Big C. We have Jack. I don't even know. We called you Producer Jack forever. Now I guess we call you Social Media Jack or Social Media Video Audio Jack. Jack of all trades, I guess we'll call you now.
Hey.
So we have the Jack of all trades, and then
got my own sign.
And then we have the mayor of Soul Park, Mr. John Fig, 9 to 5 Golf on Instagram. Both of them fresh back from the PGA Show in sunny Orlando. How was the show, fellas? Give us a little kind of overview, breakdown, thoughts of it. We're going to have some questions going in a little bit deeper, but kind of overall thoughts of how the show went while you guys were out there.
All right, guess first, John. Why don't you?
Oh, you're so kind.
Lead us
so
off.
kind. Yeah, so Jack and I got flown out to Orlando courtesy of amateurgolf.com.
No free ads.
Nope, sorry. But quick shout out to Pete. He did get us out there. I had started to do some video and editing work for them at the beginning of the year, and then I kind of put him in contact with first Ashton, and then through Ashton, Jack. And Pete was really interested in Jack's knowledge with equipment, and he wanted to start featuring more of that. So he thought it was a good idea to send us both out to Orlando and join him for the PGA Show. And first initial impressions are it's every golf sicko's dream. You're essentially walking through a town that's built out of golf items and golf gear and everything that is based in and around golf. And it's sensory overload. It's a lot of walking. I think I looked at my phone app after the weekend when I got back, and over the 3 days I walked about 18 miles. So, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I didn't get to hit as many clubs as Jack did, so he can probably get into a little more in depth about some of the products themselves. The gear I was more documenting and a little more on the clock, but I still got to take in a lot of it, and definitely looking forward to getting out there again next year for sure.
Yeah, I'll be honest, man. Pete, if you're listening to this, I don't even know what you want out of me. Just kidding. No, it was cool. Yeah, got connected to Pete, and yeah, he just kind of wanted me out there to do some content and do some kind of really light editing and potentially write some pieces for him. First time also, and honestly, like I think the first year I heard about the PGA Show was like 2021, so I really had no idea what to expect. I will say is like it was kind of a zoo, man. Like John said, it was so big, and just like I think we maybe saw, like, if I was to put a percentage on it, like maybe 60% of things that were there. Like it was hard to really like, and it wasn't like a goal to like look at every single booth and what items they had, but it was just like so many things. Like you would walk through the middle of an aisle and kind of have, you know, almost an idea of what each section is, but then like you turn around and it's like, here's Foresight, and then here's, you know, TrackMan, and you turn around, there's like a random like protein bar booth or something like that. So it was really interesting. Like I've been to trade shows before, and I was totally just like, oh man, like this is like a classic like trade show thing. Like there's like live floor shows, like all the rooms in that hall were basically like live like classes from like TPI or the PGA Show about all these different things. Like that's the one thing we didn't really get to do because we're more there for the equipment. Like I thought we'd be able to at least like go to some of the talks that were going on, but we didn't get to do that. But it was pretty cool, man. Like it was a really interesting experience looking at the business side of golf. that's what it was. It was like a business trade show. So it was really interesting, and it was definitely a zoo.
That was my first convention or trade show of any kind, either like golf or not. So yeah, it was just sensory overload for sure. And some free booze too. Unexpected free booze and hors d'oeuvres, cheese and crackers, which was nice.
It's a lot of that. You can get drunk pretty cheap and easy at the PGA show. It becomes, and again, like you were talking about with all that walking, I mean, if you don't watch yourself, it can get real sloppy real quick. And I'm sure you guys came across some people that were probably a little bit too over embellished in some of those free handouts that people were given. But I mean, if anybody's been to a trade show, it's, you know, everybody's trying to pawn something to you. I mean, that's basically what this is. And so, you know, it's great marketing and connecting if you're a smaller company. I know I've talked to Akbar about when he went to the PGA show for the first time, a couple times, and it was highly beneficial for Seamus and for their brand because they were able to connect with a lot of golf clubs and resorts and things like that with guys just walking around, seeing their booth and getting a lot of brand recognition that way. For the larger manufacturers, it's really just stroking each other off. It's a lot of I'm just going to be honest about it. I mean, it's like, hey, we've got the new top dog shit. Like, come and see it. We're going to have the shiniest booth, the most flash, just to draw people in the door. If anybody was paying attention during the PGA show, we all saw fucking Callaway's, you know, booth and display with the gigantic golf ball sphere in the middle. I mean, the amount of money and effort it took Callaway to get that thing there for the PGA show just to be able to say, we have a new ball coming out. It's like, guys, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This is why balls are $55 a dozen. Not because they're that good. It's because they have to pay for this marketing somehow.
Dude, that was like one of my big takeaways. I was just like, man, the business of golf
For sure.
it's just like stupidly done. Like it's not, I don't know, like I just don't think they're doing it right. Like that's what I got from all the like the big OEM manufacturers. Like it's all about like just showing your shit up. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't understand where the ROI comes from on that. It's like you're putting all this money, like Titleist, for example, like they had the white coat army that was just like weird type of deal, right?
I mean,
Like
the
it's like,
backstory behind that's super, super weird. Like it's
yeah,
not even a cool story. So like Titleist like dies on this as like part of their origin story.
yeah,
We're not going to get into it in the pod. If you guys want to search why Titleist, you know, has these white coats and it's a big thing with Titleist, you can, because if you ever go to the ball plant, they all wear white coats as well.
yeah.
It's super weird.
But yeah,
Titleist and
it's
Callaway
just
definitely stood out as
like as far as
they-
display, you know.
as far as displays or booths or setups, they were the two that kind of were head and shoulders above the rest as far as just over the top, grandiose. You better fucking look at us.
Yeah,
Well, and so that's kind of why I explain to people, like people when we're in fits, and I'm sure you could use this too, Jack, but like people always don't understand why Mizuno cost per head of a club is so much cheaper, but they usually are neck and neck with like brands like Titleist and Callaway that are pricing their clubs like $60 a club more expensive. And I'm like, how many guys on tour is Mizuno paying to play their clubs? How many Mizuno commercials do you see? How often do you get blasted with AI smoke and all these things? It's like the reason they're pricing their stuff at the price they have to get that money back in return.
Yeah.
And so they're hoping that all of that turns into people blindly buying stuff off the rack and just, doing that year in and year out. And that's why the Golf Galaxies and Golf Marts and things like that are in business still, because the marketing works and people will just blindly walk in, buy clubs that aren't fitted for them or anything like that. But yeah, the golf industry, I've been in the industry for a while. I know this is kind of John's little intro into kind of the business side of things. You've done a lot of like videography and things like that on the art side of things and more on the golf course. So, and Jack kind of getting into the club fitting has learned a lot about the business over the last year being in the business. But if you've not I was a manager at Golf Mart in the Bay Area. I've been in the industry for a little bit, and knowing a lot about those type of things, it taints your view a little bit and kind of makes you feel a little sour when it comes to why things are the cost. And we always go, well, golf's just expensive. And it's like, well,
Not
we
really.
probably don't need it to be that expensive.
That's what I was going to get
why.
to. Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I was like, the return on an investment on putting a big ass booth that they probably overall on a weekend, I would calculate that Callaway probably spends somewhere in the 100 to maybe
close to
2
$1
to
million.
3, just putting it together and getting people there, probably $300,000.
Well, and they
just
spend
for
they
for
literally
exposure.
they're backing Callaway headquarters right now, planning for the
Mhm.
PGA Show for 2025. So
Yeah,
you got to think
so-
about that too. It's it's a whole year to get to that point, and you're paying
Yeah,
people
exactly.
a whole year to do that. It's crazy.
Yeah, so to me, it's it's very over the top and almost unnecessary. It's crazy. I feel like there would have been a lot more benefit for if depending on where you come from, what your goal is to be there. And I think that's something that I saw everybody had so many different goals. There were actual PGA pros and golf club managers who are out there literally where's my next contract for tees, where's my next contract for scorecards, Straka line, all that stuff. And that's all they were going to, and they weren't really hitting up the Callaways or whatever. I feel like most of the big brands, they were really just there to take in influencers. Really.
Yeah,
It's super weird.
That's kind of what magnified the thought of just wasting money, lighting money on fire, was that it just felt like, to me, all the big club manufacturers, by now, your deals are done, right? Your deals should have been made already. Your new product's out. What are you showcasing that you haven't already spent the last 4 months teasing and showcasing and rolling out to all your buyers? And it just seems like one big circle jerk. It's crazy.
It 100% is. And that's just the industry. The people that really sell the product are the reps that are out there actually doing the work, visiting the shops, making sure they have inventory, making sure answers are answered or questions are answered to a lot of fitters like me and Jack. Those are the guys that are really selling the equipment, making sure that it's pushed out on the market, where this is, like we were talking about, it's kind of it's almost like a sad attempt to just be able to pound your chest and be able to say, I have cooler shit than you do, and I can make a booth shinier.
Yeah, it's a big PR stunt, basically.
Yep,
at least for the major manufacturers. There's legit smaller businesses that were trying to, sell their products, but
Absolutely.
for the big box guys, it was hey, look at me. So
let's lead into it from there. So I think we've done enough beating up of the big OEMs, but so we're probably never going to get sponsored by them. That's cool. We did just lose an AccuSnet deal, but we're rolling with it. It's no big deal. We're not getting paid by them anymore. now I can say what I want to say. So we are going to jump into it. And I want you guys... Yeah, maybe a Cushionat. Exactly, John. I still love your balls of Cushionat. I'll take all the free balls you want to give me. Send me everything.
ones, baby.
So let's start it off. Weirdest item you guys came across. You could shout out the brand if you want. If you just want to talk about weirdest item, we could go there as well. But let's start off with John about weirdest item.
Okay, so I was hoping Jack would go first because I have a couple things I'm trying to recollect, but the one thing that's standing out to me, and this is just weird to me, I'm sure some representatives, some golf courses or superintendents might have been thrilled or like amazed to see this product. But several times I walked past a booth that was for it looked like some kind of rod or staff that you stick in the ground with a siren on top. And essentially it was to warn you whenever a thunderstorm was approaching. And I'm guessing you set several of these up around a golf course or one or two near the clubhouse or something. But every time I walked by that booth, it was two guys sitting at a table looking at their phones, and not one single soul in the entire convention center was even glancing at the booth. And I was just like, there's probably a lot of technology in there that I don't understand, and they spent a lot of money to get a booth here, and it can't be paying off in any way. I'd love to be proven wrong. I hope that company's doing well. I wish them the best, but it just did not look like a tough scene.
You would think just from the clubhouse, all you would need is just like a megaphone that you could just be like, thunderstorm warning, get off the golf course, and you'd be good. Like, I don't...
Well, and yeah, like weather apps.
Like a million things. Like, or just people coming out, guys, we're in Kansas. You might want to pay attention to those thunderstorms that are on their way. Like, I think it's play at your own risk if you're in a thunderstorm type area. You know, I thought hurricane season was over. So that's got my
current vote. I'm trying to jog my memory for anything I saw that was weirder, but maybe something that could be put to more practical use. But that just seemed like such a niche item. And then just the compounding visual of like all 3 days I would see the booth and it was just those two guys looking at their phones and everyone just walking by. Like,
yeah, I think much money invested in that booth. It's like to be at the PGA show to just sit there on your phone.
Yeah, it was funny that we did pass by them like all 3 days, and it was like the same scene. It was like Groundhog's Day, like walking by them. I got two, and I can't remember the name of this one. It was a putter company. I was going to the putter like area. I was looking for the LA golf rep for my store.
You got to narrow it down
just to say what's up. Yeah,
there's so many weird putter. That's like a
there were yeah. That could be a whole like 10 minutes of conversation. But this one, like, the guy was basically like, we picked it up because it was like really rough looking. Like, this just got off the milling block like yesterday type of deal, and so there's like all different shapes. Most of them were like rectangle and square. And the thing that kills me is I can't remember what the term the guy used was, but he was like, oh yeah, so like, you know how putters have toe hang, right? And I was just like, uh-huh. And he was like, yeah, well, our putters are meant to be toe down or something like that. And it was like a negative toe hang balance putter or something. And basically, do you remember what the name was?
Is it the one that the guy said their whole logic is based on when you turn a blade putter? But like basically when you
toe down,
the toe of the putter. Like say if you have a weird lie and you're trying to putt, so you turn your putter 90 degrees and putt with the toe edge of it. He said he grabbed the normal putter and he said, "Yeah, you see how it just stays square through the whole back."
It stays on plane, is what he said. Yeah,
it stays on plane.
Dude, I gotta find the name of it.
To feel that exact same way, like when you're putting with the toe.
it was wild, and I like basically I set it up for my stroke, and he was like, no, like that's not how you putt with it. He basically told me, he was like,
So
you're not setting
so
up right with the putter.
so it's a putter that you have to change your entire way of putting to be able to utilize.
Yeah, it was like that part of the interaction like made it so fucking funny to me because I was like,
As a
just no,
fitter,
Feels
as a
like
fitter
nothing
too, you're
you've
just
ever
like,
felt either. Like it
as
feels
a
like
fitter,
nothing.
Jack, you just had to have been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah,
What are you
yeah.
talking about, dude?
Well,
Like
the one
everything you're saying
putter,
is counterintuitive.
yeah, the one putter that I picked up and tried to putt with, like he tried to show me how to use it, and the way that he showed me how to use it was like my hands were like pressed all the way forward, like 3 inches. My hands were like 3 inches in front of the ball, and I
It
was
was
just like,
the technology wasn't hidden at all. Like it was a center shafted putter, and the shaft was about an inch and a half behind the face.
yeah, yeah. It was fucking weird,
So if
but
you didn't forward press a shit ton, it looked like you were presenting 7 or 8 degrees of loft to at the ball.
yeah, it
Like the
was
first
that.
couple of strokes I made to the putt, I like launched the ball like up in the air a few times, and I just had to put it away.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not fucking with this anymore.
It was like a
Um,
chipper.
yeah, exactly. But that was a weird one. I have video of this. There's a golf cart that like expands and then like it contract like it gets smaller too. Yeah, that shit was crazy. Like we're gonna
Yeah,
need to
for
put up a video of
storage.
it. Yeah.
Like
What
basically
was
the
it
floor
called?
plate retracts, like the mini candy. The mini candy.
Candy. The candy. That's what
Yeah,
it
the
was called.
candy.
Yeah, the candy golf cart.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Cool but weird.
Genius idea,
Yeah.
but I'd love to see how durable that is over time. Being able to like
Yeah.
contract and then
It's
how
like 3 years
rigid it
from
would
now, it's just like
stay.
all rusty
Like
and
the
shit.
Yeah,
mechanisms all break.
yeah.
Oh my god.
The
All
the
right.
demo video was cool as hell though. But
So going from weirdest, probably least useful items out there in the show that you guys came across, let's go to the item you guys deem most useful. So, and this could be in any spectrum. It could be for training. It could be, maybe, a clothing item that might be great for like rain that you just never thought of. Anything that might be like the most useful item you came across. Jack, we'll
um
start with you this time.
yeah, I don't know if I'm stealing this from Figs, but honestly, why golf had this plate and it like it teaches you how to read slope and assign value to it. And this stuck out to me because Figs does aim point. Shout out aim point, but no free ads. And everyone always accuses me of using aim point when I'm not. Like I'm just like walking to a specific part of my putt to read my like get a feel for how much it's gonna break, and I'm not doing aim point. But this was like it's basically like a little curved platform that you can step on, and it shows you like what does a 4% slope feel like, what does a 3%, 2%, 1%, and then a flat slope feel like. So that was really useful. I think in terms of like actually getting people to like giving someone something to take onto a golf course that you can practice. Um, I just don't know. The only thing I don't understand about it is like it's pretty big. It's like 4 feet long. So I'm like, is this something just to like have as a reference for, or like do you bring this to a putting green and kind of like train that way? So I thought that was one of the most useful things that I saw.
Yeah, that was definitely why golf in general kind of impressed me. I'm sure like some other golfers, why golf has hit my IG algorithms pretty hard in the past few months, for whatever reason, but their training aids and their marketing kind of comes across a little corny at times and kind of aimed at the to me is like not, this is might be low cap privilege or whatever you want to call it, but to me, kind of the way they market their training aids, it's almost like they're marketing them towards higher handicappers. But seeing the products in person, they're actually really useful and practical, and they can be used by any range of golfers, really, and especially that slope board, which seems like it would be for a more advanced golfer who, like me, is practicing aim point or is just trying to look for a better way to read putts. I thought it was pretty handy. And then their putting gate that they use is actually one of the more advanced kind of putting gate training aids that I've seen. It's got kind of these at the point of where the head at the point of impact, and then there's a little gate in front that the ball goes through. There's these little sprockets, and the sprockets, each cog or whatever, however you want to call it, is a varying length. So you can actually increase the difficulty as you go along. And then there's another like track that comes in if you're just starting out, that's kind of almost like a track for the ball, so that no matter what, it rolls straight through the second pair of gates. But then you're emphasizing, getting your path right. And it just seemed like really useful. It's more than just the standard, putting mirror or just the little poles that you stick in the ground or whatever. It seemed really useful. And then there was one that me and Jack didn't get to try from them that we were kind of bummed, which is a bunker simulation sort of mat. I don't know if they would have let us demo it in the warehouse, but I wish we would have gotten to see it in person, because that's something that kind of intrigued me. But yeah, I might be putting in an order for that slope board in the next coming weeks. So,
Oh shit! Hashtag game point. Hashtag no free ads.
It seems like that slope board is something that is probably aimed towards like college coaches, PGA professionals that might work with guys that are working towards mid-ams or US Open and like qualifiers, things like that are striving to find something that maybe they've been struggling with, because like it being so cumbersome, it's probably not something that your normal 12, 13 handicap golfer is going to keep in their trunk and take out onto the green with them all the time. But maybe something that's at a facility that if you're going through training process with a specific coach, that they would have it there, and it would be a really, really, useful training aid for someone that's trying to learn a different process for putting. I think I love that idea. I mean, I'm not a guy that utilizes my feet and walks my line. I'm a guy that looks on both sides, finds slope visually there, and kind of goes about it. But for anybody that finds that as the process that works for them, because that's the thing with putting, no one's process should ever be your process. It should be what works for you. So if that's the process that ends up getting you to the point that shaves some strokes off, I think that's a cool fucking tool.
I will say,
I just want to clarify for the record, I use Aimpoint Express. And I use it the correct way. I don't use how the tour pros use it. So it takes me no more than 15 to 20 seconds to read my putt, and then I'm hitting the ball. So haters,
I can contest.
Find a new slant.
I played with John. He's not a slow putter.
Yeah, I was about to say somebody's gonna find an excuse during the cookout to put you on the clock, man. You're gonna be like, aim point's too slow.
I own the damn clock.
All right, so next thing we want to go on to, so this is kind of the opposite of most useful. It's an item that you would love to own, but you absolutely do not need to fucking spend money or have this at all.
Oh,
I'll go first, and it's kind of bittersweet because it might be my favorite item I saw the entire show, and it's this mat by Putt Out. It's amazing. Sick. Like, it's so sick. Like I was baffled by it. I just amazed by it. It was so awesome. Basically, it's a mat, kind of a plastic. It looks like a plastic sort of platform, and then on top I think it's an 8 or 10 foot putt out mat with a cup, it's snapped in place, and then there's a little side base that you stand on so that you're on the same level of it. And at 6 points, at the 4 corners and at the 2 midpoints on each side, there's these tiny little pumps. And with your feet, you air pump them, and you can create up to 7% slope of break, left to right, right to left. You can just do the ends. You can pump up all the ends and, practice downhill putts, uphill putts. And then you can even do, he even did a double breaking putt, which is pretty crazy. And it like folds up into 3 spots or whatever. It just seems like an awesome piece of practicing thing, but I feel like I would buy it. I would take it out. I would use it twice, and I would probably fold it up and never use it again. It's just, as much as I hate to say it, because it really was like, it was sick. It would have to be, it would be one of those things where it would have to be put in a place where I could leave it out and set up all the time.
I
would
feel
have a
like
dedicated like putting station. Other than that,
I feel like
I couldn't.
I think it would be like an air mattress where if you had it blown up for the first time, you could never get it folded back up properly to be able to get back in the box.
Exactly what I was thinking.
So you end up just like having it shoved in the corner of a closet because it can never go back in the packaging. Or you have to buy
one of the
extra,
latches just gets all wonky or something.
You buy an extra like Rubbermaid container that's too large for it just to store it because you need to get it out of the way. But
it'd
like
be one of the airbags. One of the airbags would never deflate all the way, so you could never close it.
That's a thought I had immediately when you said that to me. Is just like storage sounds like a nightmare with that thing. Like you'll never be able to get it fully deflated to the point of folding it up properly again.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, if I really wanted to get it, I'd probably wait in a couple years when they come out with the version 2. And it's maybe a little cheaper and improved and a little more streamlined, because it was still pretty chunky. It folds up.
Yeah.
It folds up in kind of a trifold into like a little bit smaller than probably a backpack or maybe a carry-on suitcase. But it was still pretty clunky and probably needs a little bit more development. But I just think just the concept was amazing to me, and the execution is still pretty good. Like I said, if it was in a spot where you could leave it set up all the time, I think it would be a really useful tool for someone practicing at home.
Yeah, no, for sure. Jack, what about you? I know you got something crazy.
Does it have to be like
He's going to say the candy scooter again.
It could legitimately be anything. It could be
anything.
If you wanted like one of those electric bikes that you put your clubs on, or like anything.
I got 2. There was one golf cart, and it was like I don't know if you guys ever saw the concept for the electric Volkswagen camper van. But it was like this high-tech looking, like the doors open and it's like leather seats in it. It's a like just really like think of a golf cart that Mercedes made, and like the doors can close.
It's like a G-Wagon golf cart.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a G-Wagon golf cart, and it was made by a Korean company. So that shit's top notch, like plush Cabretta leather on your seats and like on the steering wheel and shit. Like it was so clean. Like I really wanted to sit in it and just take a picture of it, but I was like, man, I feel like this is too much for me. And then the other thing that I would like want to own but don't need would actually be the Callaway golf spear. Like it would just be so stupid.
Just so you could put whatever you want on it in the middle of your living room.
Dude, I already thought about what I would do with it. I would put it outside on the yard during Christmas. That would be my Christmas display. That would be fucking sick, man. Like just play like snow globe it, play some Christmas movies on it for people to watch in 360. Like how sick would that be?
Maybe if you go down to Carlsbad during Christmas time, they'll have it just lit up in the front of the Callaway headquarters.
It's going to be in storage.
Oh, it's going to be demolished and thrown away after this.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
Yeah. The other one that I thought would be neat to own, but not like I don't need it. And any pros bag that was in the Titleist booth. They had a bunch
were
of
cool
pros
looking.
bag. Yeah. Like they had oh my God, I think they had like Anna Davis. They had literally every staffer that they had.
Well, I thought one of the coolest things you guys showed was all of the golf balls with everybody's different
Yeah.
like markings on it.
Yeah, that was really
And
sick.
it's interesting to see like how many players are like myself. I don't put a line on my ball. Like I don't line up my ball when I putt. There was like half of them, just
Yeah.
a dot, initial, whatever to mark their ball. But most pros looked like they did not use some sort of alignment.
Yeah,
I kind of
it was really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say I kind of noticed too. It almost went the opposite way. Like the players that I saw that marked a line on their ball, they didn't really use any other markings on their ball. Usually, if it was a line, it was just a line, and there was no dot or no, initials or anything. It was just a line, and it just depended on what color they happened to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. I immediately put I stole Patty T's mark. She like crosses out Titleist on hers. So now my ball mark is I crossed out the Titleist and then 4 dots on top for me. I was like, oh shit, I gotta use that. That's fucking cool as hell.
I've always crossed the number out on my balls. So I've always darkened or blacked out the number.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just take a black Sharpie and black the number out.
There was a pro that did that, and then there was one pro, I forget again, I got to look back at the footage, but all they had was they just filled in the loop of the L, the cursive L in Titleist.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. It was subtle.
There's some cool, I mean, it's such a weird thing, but only golfers would think it's cool of how people actually mark their balls, but we're fucking psychopaths. Let's go into the next guy. Best booth. We've already talked about how Callaway made such a monstrosity of a booth and how Titleist basically was 3 square city blocks of a booth. But what would you guys say most creative? It doesn't have to be because of sheer size or mass, but like one that just like drew you in immediately.
Oh, I think I know what Figs is gonna say, but for me, I actually really liked True Golf's booth. Like it was like when well, I'll do 2, True Golf and then Imperial Hats. Imperial Hats was just like a hat display basically. I don't know why I thought that was so cool, but they had like a little wraparound, like a L-shaped wraparound. But basically, like you just walk up and then look at all the hats, and there's like a little kind of like cafe area or something next to them. But that was cool. And then, oh, actually, I have 3. Sorry, True Golf. Like theirs was popping. Like, dude, like all the ways that they did their samplings and everything was really neat. Like the shoe displays on top, and then like all the clothes and stuff. Like it was just really
True
cleanly done. Or sorry, True Linkswear.
I thought you were talking about the simulator company.
No, my bad.
I was confused for half a minute. I was like,
Yeah.
You started talking about golf shoes, and I was like, it's got to be True Links.
I thought you were talking about that
sorry.
same company where the clapping kept happening while we were
trying
to film that one booth.
Yeah, there's like a sim company. Like we were trying to talk to the guys at Super Speed, and then like intermittently there would just be like clapping noises, and I was like, is that real clapping or fake clapping? Like, yeah, but sorry, True Links Golf, like their area was really nice. Like it wasn't that big, but they really maximized the space that they had, and just seeing some of the samples that they had was really nice too. And then probably the most poppin' booth that we saw was Eastside Golf. Again, I wish I took more photo. Like I thought I took a lot of photos, but now like thinking, like having this conversation, I'm like, damn, there's a couple things I didn't really take photos of. But Eastside Golf was like their setup was like if you've ever been to like a New York City Supreme store back in like the mid 2000s, that's all I could think of when I walked in there. I was like, I see what they're trying to do, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it's probably got
the
like
music was
a
blasting
very
in there too.
probably
Oh
got like
yeah,
a very Stussy like bait, like any of those like streetwear kind of early 2000s kind of nostalgia feel. I mean,
yeah.
that's why
Except
I've kind of been driven to East Side and why I've liked what they've been doing.
yeah, except their audience is like, middle-aged men in their 40s trying to invest in the latest trend.
I'm pretty close to
Which
that. I'm not
I
gonna
mean, I
lie to
get
you.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty close. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Jack.
No, I'm saying like, middle-aged rich men who are trying to
Wow.
invest on,
I'm
you
half of
know.
that. I'm middle aged. I'm not rich.
That was the other. I mean, that was just the other interesting thing about the PGA Show. Like any giant public space with a bunch of people walking around, the people watching and the interacting is going to be, and the weird mix of people. You go to some of these display booths, especially some of the clothing ones, where the thing that a lot of clothing companies are pushing is a certain type of culture, a certain type of mindset, going beyond just how you dress. But it's like, not to be corny, but it's almost like it's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I feel like more than ever, people are pushing that because for whether it be Malbon or even if it's like a brand that I'm a fan of, like Nation Golf, where they're actually kind of leaning into the vintage kind of throwback way, still being inclusive and being about camaraderie and stuff, but kind of just in a different era. And but all of that is about, you're pushing a certain lifestyle and a certain mindset that you carry on and off the golf course. So it's just kind of interesting seeing these displays and these elaborate booths that were kind of trying to show that to the nth degree, and then the people walking around are just not at all what you would think the market demographic is, but everybody's interested, everyone's eating it up. So
I think that's one of the coolest, like newest things in golf is all the subcultures within golf now. And I think everybody kind of gets drawn in by a certain maybe brand that like fits their demographic or who they are outside of golf. Like, if anybody knows me outside of golf, like I am a massive sports enthusiast and a big sneakerhead. So like there's certain brands out there that really kind of draw me in. And that's kind of like why Eastside Golf and another brand that's really small like Devro is a big brand that I like. And I like Devro because they basically make like soccer jerseys and hockey jerseys, but like turn them into golf apparel. And it's just my kind of vibe. Like I would love to wear a golf baseball jersey. Like that's something that I would wear on the course. Most people, that's not their cup of tea or it's something that they would vibe with. But like, I really love, like they took all of the like OG 90s and early 2000s, like soccer jerseys from Europe and basically turned them into like golf polos. And it was a cool like line of stuff that they did that really vibed with me. So like, Jack's got his certain vibe. You really, really kind of flow with kind of that retro 50s, 40s, like Rat Pack style of guard. And I think that's the cool thing about golf. Everybody has their niche, and it's one of those things that you can find within golf that brings your personality from outside golf into it.
Thought you were gonna say like if anybody knows me outside of golf, I'm a really big hot dog guy. Glizzies all day, baby.
I mean, that's more of an on-course thing. I don't think I like absolutely seek it out outside the golf course. It is definitely a golf course turn of the treat.
What
I
about
was
you,
gonna say we
John?
might be getting a preview of the Team Hot Dogs uniforms, kind of looking like a minor league baseball team, the Glizzies.
The Glizzies just with big old hot dog mascot across the front.
Yo, no
We
lie,
might
that's gonna
have
be
to do
sick.
that. We
Yeah,
might have
that
to
could
do
be
that one
sick.
year. We do baseball jerseys one year. I'm gonna get with Patch and start getting this dialed up.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
We'll do crabs on one for the Crab Shack.
Ooh.
All right. We're gonna go from best boosts. We kind of just talked about it a little bit, but your favorite fashion item that you guys came across?
I really liked. I mean, we kind of already mentioned it, but East Side Golf. What was another one? True Linkswear was pretty cool. I like some of the jackets and hoodies. Maybe not necessarily for wearing. See, what I do like about kind of the streetwear and lifestyle element getting more into golf is that it does provide more options for off the course. You know, I've always been someone who, like, when I get into something, I'll buy, you know, the merch, I'll get into the equipment, I'll get into the technical side of it. So when I start getting into golf, I like wearing clothes that maybe, you know, is like a golf brand, but not necessarily like an OEM. You know, it's not a tailor-made T-shirt or something. You know, it's a brand like Eastside or something similar to that, or something like a brand like Slacker Tide, where they'll put interesting cartoons that are play on a golf term or something like that. That kind of hints at like, hey, I'm into golf, like off the golf course, but it's not I don't have a white belt and a bright white Titleist hat, script logo hat, like all the middle-aged dads out there. Shout out middle-aged dads, but
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that because, like, I mean, that's what I kind of like. Like, this is a Travis Matthews hoodie. You would never know that it was actually a golf brand hoodie that I just wear on a regular basis. Or, like, I like more of the, like, flat bill hats and stuff that people are doing. Like the Sandpiper hat from Santa Barbara. And, like, it literally just looks like a plain old flat bill snapback. And it doesn't look like your old school dad hat or, you know, tour visor situation. Like, those kind of things I think are what is making this kind of a more accessible sport for people to come into, because you could be yourself and also be a golfer. You don't have to be a golfer and then yourself outside of the game. What about you, Jack? Favorite fashion item?
I really want to get one of those bucket hats from Eastside Golf, but it's not necessarily like clothing fashion. Apparently, Seamus is coming out with this like cream colored leather, and I asked the dudes at the booth if I could buy a sample, and they said no. So, Akbar, if you're listening, please drop those because that cream leather is so buttery. Like, I need it like yesterday, dude. It was, yeah, like it was the
it's true.
best like little golf fashion item that I could think of.
The Seamus
I
booth
like
was
that.
nice. It was classy. It was subtle. It wasn't too big, but they
Yeah, it
definitely,
wasn't flashy.
you could tell they put a lot of thought into every single piece that they decided to
Place,
bring to display. They had a lot of one-offs. Like the Nike one was
yeah,
sick. The Wrangler jeans one was pretty sick. Stuff
yeah,
that they obviously would never sell, or maybe they put up
Well,
for auction or something, or it's a custom piece. But
they actually can't sell those. So a lot of those pieces that you guys got to see are actually stuff that are made for employee only, give like as like gifts to their employees. So when he made those Nike ones, I saw them when he was making them at Seamus in Beaverton, and I look at him and I go, dude, I don't care. I need one of those. I like, if anybody knows, it looks like one of their orange boxes, but
hmm
it's legitimately just a barrel head cover with orange, like premium leather, and then white stitching of the like Nike logos and stuff. It's beautiful. If you're a sneakerhead, it's like sneaker box as a head cover. It's the coolest fucking head cover ever. And he goes, I can't have one. I could only make these for Nike employees. I had to sign an NDA with Nike saying that I cannot give one away, sell one, nothing. So, like,
Oh,
when he makes that kind of stuff, it's so dope, but it's only for employees. Like, no one in the world is ever going to come across one of those unless one of the employees eventually lets it go to a family member or something like that. But Seamus, in my opinion, probably does some of the best premium like accessory products in the world. I think they're kind of unmatched when it comes to like some of the premium stuff that he does.
Yeah, you should hit up Akbar and ask him for the drop date.
I'll see what stuff I can dig up about that cream buttery leather for you, and see what I can get head cover for you.
So creamy and so buttery, bro.
Maybe I can get him to do sheepskin on the inside of it for you.
Ooh.
Get a little fancy, boy.
Might not make it to this club.
His new muff. Anyways. All right. Last question here, and then we're going to talk about the course that Jack played while he was out at the PGA Show. Favorite new brand you stumbled across that you've never heard of before this show?
Ooh.
Or it could just be an intriguing brand. Doesn't have to be like, oh, I love this brand. It's like
I'll go
one
first,
of my favorites.
but I guess I'm kind of cheating because I guess I'll alter the question. It was favorite new brand that I'd never heard. I had heard of it before, but I'd never seen it in person or gotten to try it because it's currently something that's only on the East Coast. So I never thought I'd get to try it. But 4 Craft cocktails. Me and Jack passed by the booth. It was towards the end of the day. I think it was day 2. And I had already snuck a free one of these while I was filming Pete. We just happened to pass by and I just noticed the free samples out. So we came back around and we ended up talking to the guy. God, I had his business card out somewhere. I wanted to remember his name, but 4 Craft cocktails, FORE, no free ads, but it was it's all the standard drinks you drink on course. They had ranch water, they had transfusion, they had mules, but I swear to God, Jack can attest, it tasted exactly like as if a bartender had just mixed it for you. Like it was the smoothest, didn't taste sugary, processed. It was
not crappy alcohol.
Crazy. No, like incredibly dangerous. Like incredibly dangerous.
That's a high level of achievement to be able to can a mixed drink and it actually tastes like a mixed drink a bartender would actually make you at a golf course, because that's a hard thing to ask somebody to be able to can and make sure it stays that way. So I mean, I'm intrigued. Yeah,
the farthest out west they're at is I think Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're looking for distributors on the West Coast. So
did they ship?
Any listeners of the show who want to cut us in on something for a little intro email? Reach out.
You know what we'll do, Jack? We'll call up the guys that we did the podcast with.
Oh,
hey, we'll call up our guys that we did the podcast with that are out of the. Wow. I don't know why I'm blanking right now. This is a horrible. I feel so bad because these guys are the freaking best. Jesus Christ. They're out of Cape Cod.
Jack, edit this part out.
Edit this part out,
facts.
Jack.
Facts.
Edit this out. Anyways, they're our boys out of Cape Cod, and maybe we'll have to get them to get a bunch of cases of them and mail them to us for the cookout. So we'll see what we can do there. Jack, what about you? Finish us up.
That's exactly the brand that I was gonna say.
They're so good. They're so good,
dude. Like I had a sample of the transfusion, and like I'm not gonna lie, it's better than some of the transfusions that like courses out here in the Bay Area make. Like it was
the first night for dinner I had a transfusion with my dinner. Not like I'm a huge transfusion guy. I just saw it on the menu and I'd never seen it on anywhere off a golf course. I just had to have it. And this one that I had, the canned one, was better than that one.
Way better.
Yeah.
Yeah. 4 Craft. Somewhat of a free ad.
So duffing up. We need you guys to send us some of this. I am so sorry I blanked on your guys' name, but Duffin Up, we need you to come in clutch for Soul Park and send us some of these. We need them. You guys are the only hope that we have since you have access on the East Coast. So hopefully I'll hit these boys up and see if we can get some sent out to us. Or maybe we just hit them up directly and they can just illegally mail them to us. We'll see.
We don't, Pax, really cut that one out. We don't want any evidence of a felony out here, man. No.
We already have enough evidence of that in the cookout. Like
Yes.
Instagram
Yeah, exactly.
message threads.
Oh, man. All right, Jack. Let's talk about the course that you played while you guys were out in Orlando. So give us a kind of a brief synopsis on the course. What made you guys pick this course, if it was just easy accessibility to where you guys were at?
Yeah, so we played courtesy of Pete from amateurgolf.com. We played Southern Dunes Golf and Country Club. It's in Haines, Florida. The drive was probably about maybe like 47 minutes or so outside of where we were in Orlando. So we were like, let's call it like 15 minutes outside of Orlando proper, and then another 47 minutes away from there. So, yeah, about an hour outside of Orlando. I was like, first impressions before we even get to like routing or anything like that, like, dude, blown away by their like the photos on the website. So I looked it up the day before, just blown away, and I was like, oh man, like this looks like it's gonna be cool. The whole time I was speechless. Like I was almost kind of like had a lot of expectations out of it, because if you look at their website, I'm gonna quote you guys something. Let me just pull it up. So this is on the website's course architect page. I'm gonna read you guys two entries here. It says, reminiscent of Alistair Mackenzie's classic design at Royal Melbourne in Australia, Southern Dunes is noted for strategically placed bunkers that challenge the stronger player and guide the weaker. Large flowing fairway bunkers turn holes, defining landing areas, and create drama on all 18 holes. Big, I don't know how much you were following my stories.
That's some big balls before you even get out there, dude. Like that's claims.
That's not even a quote from some kind of magazine. That's just a website throwing that out there. And then the other thing,
golf course saying that.
Yeah, literally the golf course was like, we are good. And then in quotes from Ron Witten of Golf Digest architectural editor, not since Mackenzie or Tillinghast has a golf architect used bunkering to make such bold statements, express such flair, and instill such fear. Like,
so we know Golf Digest architecture guys are paid to say things. So let's get your take, Jack. Let's see what you say. If this was, you played some true Alistair shit in California. You played Green Hills. You played Pasatiempo. Two of one of the best examples you probably could have of Alistair outside of Melbourne or Augusta. So, your thoughts, Alistair Mackenzie-esque?
I wouldn't say it's like I get what they're trying to do with the bunkers, but there's so many. Like, so many. I don't know if you guys have looked up the website, but I'm gonna put a link in the chat real quick.
I just looked it up, and
dude, like
it reminds me more of Robert Trent Jones than it does Alistair Mackenzie.
That's what I was gonna get to, dude. It's like I get what they're saying. It's definitely an interesting course.
Did you test the true Alistair Mackenzie bunkering when you got past the bunker? Did you turn around to see if you could still see the bunker? Because that tells you a true Alistair bunker. You should not be able to see it if you turn around after you pass it.
There were a few, actually. I will
Okay.
say that, like, especially some of the fairway bunkers. I think I did it on, oh gosh, was 14? I think 15 is a par five. I'll look at my scorecards real quick. So let me just look. I'm trying to remember which hole I did that on. So 15. So 15 was a par four. That was a drivable par four. Oh yeah, on 16 I did that. And it's at least on that hole from what I can remember, like you look around from the green and you can't really see the bunkers. So it was really like I will say OG Pete is what we were calling him. Pete from Amateur Golf's friend that was with us on the trip. He was like, "Hey, like this is your first Florida golf adventure, and I'm just telling you now, like, do not expect this from other Florida golf courses." And I was like, "Oh, like, please explain." And he said, first of all, the grass is different. It's rye overseed. Two, it's just unlike any other golf course out there. And I can see exactly what he was talking about. I was definitely blown away. Like, I wouldn't say like Mackenzie like stuff, but the greens were really pure. One, found out on the second hole that it's really hard to read grain. Took me about like 3 or 4 holes to get used to it. Um, and I think John and I were
Rye
talking about it.
Rye is one of those where it has to be sunny to be able
Hmm.
to read rye greens because they have a
Yeah,
sheen to them. So
yeah.
like you can see what the grain does by the
Hmm.
actual sunlight on them. Outside of that, if it's a cloudy day, you're screwed. Like rye is super hard to read.
Yeah, there were definitely like the weather was like pretty good, really like barely overcast, but there were points of the day where, the clouds were right over us and we couldn't see shit. Um, but definitely, I would say the biggest things that I would describe it as is one, it's subdivision golf, first of all, but it doesn't really feel like subdivision golf because of all the different undulations that were on the fairways, and then there were elevated greens, and there were a couple greens that were like below the tee box, which was really cool. So a lot of changes. The routing was a little bit confusing, but I think it is one of those like you just got to play it a couple times because it is subdivision golf, and you go through certain streets to get to tee boxes to other
Was
tees.
it was it kind of like Monarch Dunes subdivision where they do like a really it's within a housing development, but it's really well designed to like keep you encapsulated within the golf course without feeling
Yeah,
like you're in a community?
yeah, exactly. Like I barely noticed some of the houses that were on some of the holes, and there were like a good amount of them. I had to look through some of my videos just to remind myself. I was like, oh shit, there's like a lot more houses here than I thought. Um, but yeah, it was definitely one of those where, like, I think we've talked about this before, maybe when we played like Bodega Bay or something, where it's like if you're gonna do subdivision golf, like you got to do it in a way where you can't tell the houses are there, right? So they did a really great job of that. The elevation changes were really surprising. Um, you know, I I can't remember exactly how elevation works, but like there are some holes like an uphill hole that would play like, if it was 170 flat, it would play like 185, 190, and with the wind, like you're basically hitting a 210 club. Um, so I would say like the elevation changes, the fact that it was a subdivision golf but didn't feel like it. I think especially because of the bunkering, like that's one of the things that really made it feel like, you know, fucking playing outside of Mars basically, like for that area. Um, and then the greens were like really interesting, like a lot of different shelves that you had to place your shots into, like there were really like there were pockets where like from your approach shots, like Pete was telling me like, oh, you can't miss there because you can't see it, but there's a weird slope between those two bunkers. Of course, there was a shot that I like missed into one of those slopes, and it was a really hard up and down. Like really neat like things that like made it challenging without making it, you know, I mean, I'm sure like some like you know, 15 handicap players probably kill themselves over there, but um scorecard wise, we played from the blues. It was playing 6,800, but probably it was pretty windy. So some of the holes, like there was a uphill par four, number 13. It was 422 yards on the scorecard. Um, but I think on the approach shot, we were like, I was 180 out, but I played it like a 200 shot because it was playing into the wind uphill. That was a really cool hole. It was kind of basically uphill all the way, and it reminded me almost of one of the holes at Spyglass actually because of how the bunkering was and just how the uphill hole played. Um, but there were also some fun ones, like number 15 was a drivable par four. Um, and you two probably saw it on the MuniciPals account. I posted it because I drove the green with somebody else's driver, which was pretty neat. I still don't know what to call that. And then there was number nine par five. That was like fairway goes left, but then it's not necessarily a dog leg, but the green's out on the right. So it's pretty gettable if you play yourself in the right position. But if you miss too far left, you're down in this valley that you can't really see the green, and you kind of just have to look at some trees to like plan your next shot. I thought that was a really interesting hole because it was like a very tricky look. Like the way you look at it, you're like, oh, I have so much room left, and it looks like I can get closer to the green from here. Like visually, that's what you're thinking on the tee box. But if you actually go too far left, like you make it way farther for yourself than keeping it on near the right side. But the rows were OB, so you don't want to hug the right side, and there usually were bunkers there too. I on that hole number nine, I pulled my shot because I was playing with three wood for most of the day, so hit my three wood, pulled it down into that shit that I was talking about. It's not really shit, but it's just rough. And then hit another three wood that put me over the green. And then I just chip and try to make a par there. So,
So
um,
it's kind of sounds like the course. I mean, I can understand the architects probably being a little embellishing when he
yeah,
talks about it being Alistair McKenzie, but for Florida golf, I mean, from what I have seen through Florida golf, outside of Stream Song and some of congressional things like those type of things, but most Florida golf is just very flat. I mean, it's a lot of water features. It's very flat. Most of it plays in Bermuda, just because that's kind of the grass that flourishes out there. But I could kind of, from a little bit of explanation that you've kind of given, I can kind of understand why he would. I wouldn't use Alistair in that way, but I could understand why he was probably trying to explain it in a way where it's not going to be your typical, southern Florida type of situation. It's more of what you're going to see either in or South Carolina, or if you're going to see like in the Bay Area where his footprint was established. And you see a lot of kind of courses that resemble that weren't even designed by Alistair, but people that might have worked around him kind of took that and took it into their own spectrum and made their own type of thing there. So I think
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah. It was like some of the feedback we heard from other people out there was just, like there's a membership part of it, and like they love it apparently. The I mean, most of the stuff that I heard of it were from OG Pete, but anyway, yeah, it was just like really someone took like elements of different courses out here in the Bay Area and slapped it onto a subdivision golf community. But like I said, there's just a lot about it that was like, this doesn't feel like subdivision golf.
It was done well.
Yeah, no, it was like done really well. The one thing I would say, like architecture wise, like maybe one critique would be like if you look at that link that I shot you guys on the chat, like the last photo at the bottom, like some of those bunkers are really more like waste areas, and I wish they kind of just
Cleaned
like
it up.
outright. Yeah, well, like no, like I kind of wish they just outright treated it as like waste areas, like a rustic canyon would, because the play out of those is like, oh, you're supposed to treat it like a bunker, but I'm like, yeah, but it's kind of more like waste area-y, not like a bunker is a bunker, right? Like waste area is something that has like just like visual or more environmental stuff onto it. So that was kind of a little bit artificial for me. But otherwise, like I didn't get to see much of like the clubhouse or eat there, but their range looks really cool. They had an outdoor bar, like bar barn for evenings. So you can definitely go out, hit balls, or just watch a game there on a Sunday. Um, their range was really cool too. We talked about routing. The merch was pretty solid. Like, look at this hat that I'm wearing. Um, yeah, I would definitely like if we were to go to like Orlando area for golf, like that's definitely one that would be on my list to like go back to because it was a really cool experience. I mean, for the fact that like we had to drive 45 minutes, I was just like really hoping that it was a good experience, and then we were like cutting it close to getting to the airport, getting to our flights on time, me and OG Pete at least. Um, yeah, I was like, oh, I don't mind being late for my flight for this.
So, question is, I know C-Suite Jack probably didn't pay for his round since Am Golf had this on lock on the credit card. But do you remember what the greens fees were?
Oh man, it was like it's a little bit more expensive, I think. Actually,
I
we
mean, I would
can,
assume so.
yeah, let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, here it is.
I know it was like I want to say it was like
$135 it looks like.
$422. Yeah, so it had to be around there for the weekends, like 135 or so.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not out of control. 130, like for the weekend, 150 in their like peak season, or if you go and play kind of wintertime, it drops down to 100. I mean, that's in my opinion. I mean, for a really good course, that's about what you're going to be asking for. I mean,
Yeah.
we all get spoiled, and the mayor knows this when you get to play Soul all the time. It's like you
Yeah.
get spoiled when you do have those things there, but when you travel, you expect 80 to $100 around. Like that's
Yeah.
in a good course when you travel, that's kind of going rate. I mean, it could get up to 150, 200 for some of those really higher end courses that are on top 100 lists, but I think the rates for kind of how you described the course, I mean, and from what I can see in the pictures and everything, I think it's well worth that kind of money by
Yeah.
far.
One thing too that I was like maintenance wise, it looks like they really take care of it. And I don't know if this has to do with the grass itself, but the greens, like you can barely tell like pitch marks. Like I had a pitch mark that like I think it was a shot with a wedge, and I fixed my pitch mark, marked my ball, and then like try to look back to make sure that I fixed it, and I couldn't find it because it just like basically my pitch mark after I fixed it correctly, like it just disappeared. So I was kind of blown
Mm.
away by that. That happened to me like a couple times. So I don't know if that's like a grass thing or if that's just a testament to how well they maintained that thing. But it was really cool. And then I something that I learned, Florida grass is apparently divot mix first versus divot first. So basically it's because of how the grass grows. Like if you do divot first, you basically aren't giving the grass a chance to like come back versus like out here, most California courses are preferred divot
Throw
first,
your
I
divot
think.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas that
It's either
place was like,
don't it's either fill it with just divot filler or seed and
yeah,
don't put one on at all in California, or they want you to put your divot back. Where rye and Bermuda and a lot of those things, it'll instantly die and just go
yeah,
yellow in your divot. So you have to reseed it before you could put the grass back on.
yeah. That's something I learned there. So I
It's
was like,
crazy.
yeah, if you're traveling, like definitely ask whether they're divot first or seed mix first. I'd never thought about that until then.
I mean, yeah, I don't think most golfers would ever ask that. It's just kind of the common courtesy to grab your divot and put it back where it was. But yeah, I mean, certain grasses are going to create different tendencies on what courses, and if you ever see divot mix and you don't know the answer, put divot mix in there and just don't refill it,
Yeah,
because that's better than just putting your divot back without divot mix.
yeah.
That's always your better option. So, well,
Yeah, I was gonna say if people are ever in Orlando, like make a trip out there. I think it's definitely worth it. Overall, architecture wise, I'd give it like a 8.7 out of 10.
that's pretty
Maintenance
damn good.
wise, yeah, maintenance wise for sure too. It was definitely 9 out of 10. Amenities, I don't really know, except I will say the merch on in the shop was pretty dope. So, um, that's undecided for me, but yeah, it was definitely a really cool experience for a subdivision golf course.
Well, it sounds like you guys had an absolute fucking blast in Orlando for the golf, for the PGA show. You got to play some golf on your tail end out. Um, I. It sounds like something that the municipals might have to venture out, maybe when one of those big sponsor dollars come in and somebody wants to pay for us to fly out. Sponsor us, amateurgolf.com.
There were
Um,
definitely some influencers out there that
Oh
I have
yeah.
no idea why they were out there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they were selling. I don't know who they were sponsored by, but they got in because they have a following on Instagram and they're just out there like, it's just like, here's my point of view. But like,
I
I don't
think
know who you're
I think the
serving. I don't know who
PGA
you're
just,
helping, but
if you can fly out there, you can get a hotel. I think
Oh no, big. We lost you.
look at that freeze frame too
Oh,
of him smiling.
what a way to end the show.
No. I guess we'll never know what'll happen if you can get a hotel in Orlando. PJ will
Yeah,
do something for you. Maybe they'll fly you out.
what a way to end the show. Oh my gosh.
Wow, dude. Wow.
I don't think we've ever had that happen. Should we wait for Big?
For those just listening,
If you've made it this far.
our three tile display at our video conference app just dramatically shrank or expanded to just me and Jack.
Yeah, we're down to one member of the municipals, one guest and recurring guest. We're trying to figure out what happened to Big C. While we're here, I mean, I don't know if he's gonna hear this, but how many influencers do you think we saw, dude?
Dude, so many. Yeah, a lot.
I was thinking, I was
That's
trying
a
to
lot.
count it when I was at the airport.
I thought I
like,
was looking at my feed
yeah,
in real life, man.
yeah. I was like, man, that must have been at least like 15 like podcast influencers and like
Yeah,
popular
YouTubers.
figures. Yeah, YouTubers, like some YouTubers we never heard of. Shout out Mr.
Yeah,
Short Game. I ain't never heard of him. I'm
I'd
not the
heard of him
target
before, but
audience. Okay.
I'd heard of him before, but I'd never. I'd only seen. I was a lurker. I wasn't a subscriber, but
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
gave him a subscribe this week once I got back. He's a nice
Hold
guy.
on, Big just texted me. His computer died.
Oh no! How is he not hardwired?
He's probably in his kitchen. He's usually in his office.
You're
Well, I was gonna say
giving up
that
all
was
his industry secrets.
yeah.
Pax, cut
I
this
think
out.
cut it out, Max. Yeah, that I will say. I think we talked about this while we were there. It was like, yeah, it's like really weird seeing like influencers or people that you only see on your feed like outside of it, right?
Yeah,
I
like
think we were
people being
talking
shorter
about
than we
yeah.
thought they were, taller than they thought they were.
Yo, Ian Fraser's tall as hell, man.
He
Like, for
is.
what I think he looks like on the TXG slash Club
Ian
Champion
and
YouTube.
Mikey. There's some
Yeah,
big boys.
yeah, there's some tall ass boys. But John, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man,
you.
this
We
was
should
fun.
yeah, we'll do more pods together. Maybe this will be a little bit of a preview. We're doing some stuff with Ashton leading up to the SF City Championship. So stay tuned for that. But if you've stuck it out with us this long, I guess I'll sign off. Never meet your heroes, folks. They'll just be taller than you think.
Or
Later,
shorter.
John. Yeah.
Later on, man. See ya.